something like that, and you walk away from them, and you haven't given them nothing to eat, they ain't think about what you're talking about. So you got to find out what the people are dealing with that you're talking to, and try to give them some of what meet them where they are, and that's what Jesus did. I think later on I was talking about this, but what Jesus was doing, he's going to accept this in just a minute. Accept Peter talking to him about Philios. He's going to ask her what this for. You can go now, Peter. I'm talking about agape. I don't know whether Peter knew the difference between the terms or not. He probably did. But Peter was always messing up, so there ain't no telling. I just don't know. But that's what the exchange was. Now, if you're going to have a good ministry, if you're going to have a good teacher, if you're going to have a good church, you got to have people who are somebody who God has developed and don't have the kind of words that people are younger or on the lower rung in life have. They don't have and haven't been brought to a place where you are, that God has blessed you tremendously, and you have your own home and your own 2 or 3 cars and got clothes in the closet, clothes you just probably need to take them to Salvation Army. You had them so long and about 2 or 3 new tops, a set of clothes on them. You need to know how to get down in the gutter with them, but then keep yourself while you're down in the gutter. Is this making sense? Mm-hmm. That's what this lesson is about. And then another thing you can do, you can test yourself being with the children, because if you're boring, the children are going to let you know it. If you're not communicating right, they're going to give you that look. If you're not connecting with them, they're going to let you know it. And that's a good test of where you can go to practice these things and practice leadership. And then because the adults would just look at you and laugh with you sometimes, and because you're their friend, they don't want to hurt your feelings. But
children don't care about your feelings.
Children don't care about your feelings. And so we asked him a second time, "Lovest thou me, Peter?" And he said unto him, "Thou knowest, Lord, I love thee." And he said unto him, "Feed my sheep." This is what Christ was interested in. The Greek word for feed is pomano, which means to tend or to shepherd. And that's what we need to do for each other in the house and leadership position. If you're getting to be part of the leadership in the church, then your job is to tend to, not just say something when you meet them, but reach out to them sometime. Tend to look them over, smoke them over, and find out what you can do, because they belong to the Lord. There are more babes in the Lord now in the church, I think, than there are folks on me, because they're not being challenged to do anything better. Okay, you pay your tithe and you come to church, when you can, and it'll be all right, and this kind of stuff. You can help us out sometime, it'll be all right. But it's more than that. Are you with me? Mm-hmm. And he said unto him a third time, "Lovest thou me, Jesus?" This is where it comes to the point where Jesus said the third time, and Peter was grieved because he kept saying it. People will get irritated with you. Boy, and I'll be caught in the middle of this sometime. If you keep trying to tell them something they don't want to understand yet. They don't want to change. Are you with me? But you got to do it anyhow. But listen to this. Peter was grieved because he said unto him the third time, "Lovest thou me?" And he said unto him, "Lord, thou knowest all things. Thou knowest that I love thee." Jesus said unto him, "Feed my sheep." Now what's going on here? Peter was not saying I love you unconditionally, but he could not say it. You see, Jesus earlier told them, and what the scholars speculate was going on, had told all his disciples. He told them over in Matthew I think it was Matthew 28 and 16. You don't have to go there. He had told them to meet them on the mountain. That's where they're supposed to be, meeting Jesus on the mountain, and they out there fishing. Are you with me? Mm-hmm. So part of what he had told them, if you love me, you'll keep my commandments. And Jesus had commanded them to wait for him up on the mountain, and there they are fishing. They hadn't caught anything. And Jesus was kind to them. He came, are you with me? They were dead wrong. He came, and he didn't make the mistakes some of us make. He didn't chew them out.
I know, and that's what's started. He just said, in fact, he helped them do wrong, not do wrong, but
that's right.
They were fishing when they should have been on the mountain, and instead of chastising them, he said, throw your net on the right side.
You're right. That's what he did. You know what he was saying? I agape you.
Yeah.
This grand love I have for you is at such a place where I can come and feed you and spread the table. I can use my powers to make sure you are successful what you were doing, even though you were wrong, because I'm not basing my love off what you did just a few minutes ago.
Hey, don't try it.
I wasn't basing my love off what you did a few minutes ago. Now, where that happened with us is, especially if you're raising children, if you're putting food on the table, you're going to keep doing that. If you're providing the heat in the house, you're going to keep doing that. That's agape love. Mm-hmm. And if you helping out however you're helping out, that's agape love.
Yeah.
Are you with me?
Yeah.
But he was correcting them this way. And that's because they were grown men. So many mistakes I see is where people dealing with other folks grown in the church, but they are submissive because they are in the Lord's house, because they're trying to do something with the Lord, but they're not fully committed like someone who God has raised up. Are you with me? So he was telling Peter, I raised you up. But I know you, Peter. When you said, when I told you going to deny me before the cock crowed 3 times, you cussed out about not knowing me. I don't know that blankety blank. I've never been with him. Are you with me? So he know Peter had a temper. You know, Peter be cutting folks' ears off, or threatening to cut them off. He cut the ear off when they came to when Judas had turned him in, had turned Jesus in, and Peter cut one of them ear off, one of the guards' ears off. So he was saying, I need you to love them another kind of way. He was saying, with your filios is fine, but think about what I'm doing here today. That's where you need to be the example. Think about what I'm doing here today. Even though you dead wrong, I am here, and I'm still loving you. And not only that, I'm trying to promote you even in this instance. He said, so he had Peter's ear then. He said, feed my sheep and get involved in service and let me use you. That was the perfect time for him to tell them all of that. Are you hearing me? Mm-hmm. The Lord met him right where he was, and he gave him some instruction from that position while he was bewildered. And when that's going on, a person will deal with you. A person will be more inclined to deal with you. God is the only one who can love superlatively. We can't do that yet, but we can be diplomatic with it. We can show that love. We can use the word darling or dear or my friend, my brother, my sister. We can be affectionate and adoring each other. We can find some way to adore each other, even though something is happening wrong. And I want us to turn to, Cameron, if you'll find it, Proverbs 16, 24 through 25. Proverbs 16. Verse 24 and 25.
Pleasant words are as an honeycomb.
Pleasant words are as a honeycomb, with that honey dripping off on it, all on it. What about it?
Sweet to the soul.
Sweet to the soul.
And health to the bones.
Pleasant words are sweet to the soul and health to the bone.
There is a way that seemeth right unto a man.
There's a way that you think is right,
but the end thereof are the ways of death.
The end thereof are the ways of death. I need us to try to find a way to practice being kind at a time when we would be very aggressive. Are you with me? That's our practice. That's what I want us to get out of this Bible study tonight. I need you to put a bookmarker in your mind that the next time I get ready to give instructions in a tight situation, I'll think about what Jesus did for these disciples who were not where he told them to go. And they were not trying to learn how to feed his sheep, even though they had witnessed Christ being raised from the dead. Are you with me? Even though they witnessed that. So no matter what people are doing out there, we need to find a way to love them and let them know what we think about them. I watch you all put that the children and grown-ups use their gift in this play Saturday night, Saturday evening, Saturday afternoon, and I watch how they responded, and I watch how some of the children who came in the church who hadn't even been to practice, Barbara found a way to make them feel comfortable. I watched her giving them instruction, walking to each one of them, encouraging them, you can do it, and find a way to get them to participate. Children who otherwise probably would never get that experience if they were not there at that time. That was a very soft touch. And I watched my daughter-in-law at that time sing a beautiful song that they had to give her some practice doing, and I believe she wanted to do it. And they helped the service so well. And then the little children, my little grandchildren, granddaughter and grandson, felt perfectly comfortable moving around the church and making it their own. And y'all got that right. And we have to get that right with everybody that comes through the doors, because we are representing Christ. So we need to be at the point where we understand what Jesus just did, and look through that text on your own and watch how he handled that. Look at it and see if you can employ that in your life. And to use a phrase that I've heard time and time again, you can catch more flies with what? Honey than you can with lemon. Remember that. And that's why I need for us to move from here. This will help you at your job. This will help you out when you're with some people who you don't know very well. This will help you out if you can employ this tactic, if they can get to know you that way. It'll help you with your wife and your husband. It'll help for a pleasant life. I thank you so much.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
I don't know how relevant it is, but back up in verse 7,
Mm-hmm.
why was Peter naked?
Probably because
He was fishing naked. Was that a practice back then, or what?
He may have had to go in the water for some reason. He may have had some clothes on that he didn't want to get messed up. It wouldn't have made them any difference back in then. He may have just gone for a swim. You follow me?
Okay.
He may have been going down dealing with the net or something and didn't want to get something messed up. Yeah, golfers, I've seen them roll the pants leg up to the knees and go out in the water to hit a golf ball. So, if he's dealing with fish, ain't no telling.
Well, and the reason it stood out is because they made a point to state after it said he girt his fisher's coat unto him,
Mm-hmm.
and then in parentheses it says for he was naked,
Yeah.
and they mentioned it. So that, I don't know.
Somebody back in that day, probably that had a different meaning to them.
Okay.
Probably something Peter did all the time. You know,
Okay.
yeah, you can watch some movies.
He was always doing that.
Yeah, and he may have just took a bath when he got through fishing. They used to do that all the time, you remember?
No.
In the old days, the cowboy take off all the clothes.